Greetings, programs! Welcome to the Rune Space, ooh. And today, I will be designing my Fursona! Because why not? Yes, like the Olympics, every 4 years or so, I get the furry itch and I hear the snuggle buddies calling. Like most kids, I've had a Fursona in the past, even before I knew what a furry was, with a variety of designs. Now, I haven't left the furry community, as it were. I consider myself more of a retired furry. Someone who was once very into it back in the day and is still interested, just not as active anymore. No particular reason for it, it just comes and goes. This year's Fursona Olympics will be held on a whim in the province of might as well. But just because we're doing this on a whim, we still must follow procedure. Let's bring home the gold. While picking a Fursona, it is tempting to follow the rule of cool, meaning you make a design choice solely based on how cool it is with no regard to meaning or logistics. However, I have a tendency to overthink everything and am extremely picky, so I made a checklist. Yes, a list of wants and needs my new Fursona must have before I consider anything in the hopes that it will last longer than a year. Number 1 on the checklist, eyes. They are the windows to the soul and the most important part of any design I have ever made, so they must be detailed and or colorful. Second on the list is floof! Need I explain my need of floof? Third, a big tail or big ears. Now most of my main Fursonas in the past did have ridiculously long tails. Flora was fun with her long tail, and most other dragon-esque species do look pretty cool. Now I did consider making them space themed or synthwave, like an Ampwave or a Protogen. However, I did want this design to be simple, because if it was too complicated for me to draw every so often, I just wouldn't draw them. And of course, fashion-wise, my Fursona needed to have compression gloves and aviators, as they are the main part of my main character outfit. With the base traits out of the way, now we can consider species. Again, I could just pick my favorite animal, but my personality doesn't really match Wolverines or bears. I also like tigers, but my old Sona Doom was a Tidon, a tiger-lion hybrid, and I like to try something different each time I regenerate. Shark was an option, I'm kinda autistic for them, but they're not floofy. Now nothing's stopping you from adding a full head of hair to your non-ear fuzzy shark, but I like fluffy all around. Keeping with the shark theme, I had momentarily considered a Manokit, which is kinda like a shark fox species, but with my eyes requirement, Manokits have their eyes closed most of the time, and they're more Hawaii themed. Now the beach is technically very synthwave, I personally just don't like the beach. Additionally, I didn't really want to use open species or any phantom species in the off chance I decide to make merch of the future Sona. While nothing's stopping you from making merch of your Protogen or Dutch Angel Dragon Fursona, I just didn't want to deal with the chance of copyright, just in case. Being an indecisive dumbass, for every new Sona or self-insert I make, I usually take a few personality quizzes to give myself a place to start. I take at least 5, this time I ended up taking 10, to compare the results and take an average. Now not all quizzes are created equal. Some only have 7 questions with only 5 results, while others take 12 years to complete, then they ask you to sign in just to see your results. And then there are the quizzes with the character role-playing in the options and give you the weirdest reasons for your results. So be sure to pack a bit of salt with you while on your personality quiz binge. For example, the first time I took this quiz, it said fox, and I thought, oh cool. A lot of my favorite Pokemon are very fox-like, and I did have a ridiculously huge crush on Slagar when I was a kid. Makes sense. But when I took it again for the video, it said deer twice. It also claimed I was an extrovert and an ESFJ, which we all know is bullshit. So let's put a pin in that one and count it as a half point. I'll just speed run the other quizzes, and the results were snake, owl, canine, rabbit, Surfidae, which is deer, again, bat, wombat, canine again, but specifically a fox, By the way, did you know there's a word for everything?
Everything.
Deer wants more for asinine reasons. And finally, marsupials. Let's go! I could be an opossum or a lemur. Lemurs are primates. That's a wide variety of animals to pick from, but since we're taking an average, that's 3 out of 10 for cervids. The deer wins the quiz binge! Man, if my channel was still rocking the cryptid core vibes, this would be a perfect not a deer moment. We mourn the lost opportunity. However, before we get too excited with these results, I wasn't very happy with the reasoning behind them. In most results for deer, they describe them as elegant, confident, kind, and I quote, a beacon of serenity. Have y'all met deer? In what universe? Ah yes, beacons of serenity, elegance, and grace. Also, did you know that some species of European deer bark? They bark. And I'm so glad the deer in my area don't do that. I would have pissed myself if I heard that in the middle of the night while camping. Thankfully, the weirdest sound coming from a cervidae around here is the mating call of a bull elk. I swear to God, if one more person calls this a Wendigo sound, I will steal your name and eat your soul. They didn't bury me face down. I can come back just fine, bitch! Back to the actual video. Not only were the reasons and misrepresentation of the deer bothering me, but the stereotypes as well weren't really jiving with me. In the furry community, when someone has a deer persona, it is assumed Bambi is your favorite Disney movie. I've only seen that movie once, and wasn't that impressed. You love Christmas. I hate Christmas. Every time I see those accursed decorations go up before Halloween, I turn into the Grinch. You must be a vegetarian. Deer are not obligate herbivores. They are facultative. If you want to know what I'm yelling about, check out Casual Geographic's video on it. So, this is usually where I would just rage quit, give up for a few months, before starting all over again, but thankfully, unlike most times I second guess myself, there was an alternative that, when it first popped up, I should have just stopped there, as it made everything click. Remember this? Rabbit just wouldn't leave my head. Maybe it was their reasoning that just made more sense to me, or the fact that a lot of my favorite characters and toys as a kid were rabbits. Now, Rune, I hear you say, why not mix the two and be a jackalope? Now, that would be a very fascinating idea. However, jackalopes are a mix between jackrabbits and antelope. Antelope are not deer, and despite the name, jackrabbits aren't rabbits, they're hares. One way to tell the difference is rabbits are silly babies, while hares have seen God. Additionally, I'm female. A doe jackalope would just be a normal jackrabbit. So, besides, rabbits just make more sense for me. We're both shy, yet social. While I'm mostly an introvert, I do have ambivert tendencies. I love going out, enjoying cafes and malls, but when my social battery runs out, I am done and need to retreat to my burrow. Both easily startled by loud noises, the amount of times I've jumped out of my skin over the dumbest things, from the toaster popping up, balloons, my phone notification, my dog coughing, to actual FNAF jump scares. I'm a wuss when it comes to horror. Rabbits also get heat stressed very easily, and my family can attest to the fact that I am constantly bitching about the heat. If it's above 75 Fahrenheit, I am sweating. Hell, I sweat during winter outside. My sister and I took a trip to Israel a few years back. We were in the Holy Land on Mount Zion, and I sat in the car with air conditioning. I don't like the heat. Also, rabbits are just very ADHD coded. I am constantly bouncing my leg. Now, in the rabbit world, that's usually a sign of danger, but for me, it's a signaling I'm being understimulated. Rabbits also pop when they're happy. I think it's called popcorning. We just called it popping. And generally stay pretty playful as adults. Now, I do say generally, I know not all rabbits, but all the rabbits we've had over the years were all goofballs and menaces to remote buttons. Fun fact, I don't have pica, but as a kid, and a little bit now, I would chew on random things, just because I liked the sound it made, or the feeling of it in my mouth. Rubber bands was a really big one. But Rune, I hear you say again, you were so concerned with the stereotypes of a deer. With a bunny fursona, everyone will think you're a slut. Yeah, and? People can think what they like. I just didn't want to have to constantly explain myself. Besides, I am no ordinary rabbit. I am the most foul, cruel, and bad-tempered rodent you've ever laid eyes on. I've got a vicious streak a mile wide. And if anyone tries to call me the Easter Bunny...
Jesus Christ! I warned you!
I completely forgot to talk about the design process. I might be stupid. The actual design process was pretty straightforward. I just gave her my regular clothes, but cuffed the pants because bootcut jeans look weird on digigrade legs. At first I wanted to give her pink and teal ear tips to match the channel colors, but since she's already wearing the jacket, and those would be the only pops of color on her base form, I switched them out for the purple for more cohesion. The thought of making her multi-bright colors did cross my mind, but neutral/natural colors are my default setting, and the goal was to make her look like me, but a rabbit. So, sorry guys, no sparkle deviant dog. Okay, yeah, that was the actual design process. Back to the outro. And this is now my new persona! I hope y'all liked her as much as I do. Let me know if I should have stayed with deer or any other animal in the comments. You know, in addition to rabbits, I could have really rocked that turtle fursona. No, too deep, rabbit hole's too deep, we're done, video's over, like and subscribe, stars and shit. Goodbye!